Here's the truth. I thought Porsche people were delusional. Spending six figures on a car that looks like it's been the same since Nixon was president, obsessing over which generation has more soul like they're sommeliers at a wine tasting, acting like a rear engine layout is some kind of divine intervention instead of just questionable physics. I didn't get it. At all. But then, I drove one and now I'm one of them. This is that story. So to understand Porsche, you have to go back to the 1930s. And no, this isn't going to be a boring history lesson. I promise this actually matters. Ferdinand Porsche, the guy who started it all, wasn't building supercars. He was designing the Volkswagen Beetle. You know, the people's car. Affordable, practical, rear engine, air-cooled. The automotive equivalent of a really good pair of jeans. Nothing fancy, just something that works. But here's where it gets interesting. Ferdinand's son, Ferry Porsche, looked at the Beetle and thought, yeah, but what if it was fun? What if you took that simple, functional design and made it faster and sharper? What if you turned the people's car into a driver's car? And that's exactly what he did. In 1948, Ferry built the Porsche 356. It kept the Beetle's DNA, rear engine, air-cooled, simple, but everything else was refined, lightened, and perfected. The early cars were hand-built in Gmünd, Austria, in what was basically a glorified garage. Aluminum bodies, lightweight everything, engines that made a whopping 40 horsepower. 40 horsepower. For context, a modern lawnmower has more than that, but here's the thing, it wasn't fast, but it was precise. It didn't overpower you with brute force, it invited you to drive, and people who got behind the wheel, they got it immediately. And then in 1951, Porsche did something nobody expected. They took a 356 SL to Le Mans, one of the most brutal races on the planet, and won their class. A 40 horsepower car with a hand-built body beat everything in its category. Because it wasn't about having the best engine or the loudest exhaust. It was about precision over power, and that philosophy, that's the DNA of every Porsche ever made. So, fast forward to 1963. Porsche drops the 911, and this is where things get complicated. The 911 kept that same rear engine layout from the 356, engine hanging out the back like luggage you forgot to pack properly, but now it had more power, more weight, more everything. And if you know anything about physics, you know that putting a heavy engine behind the rear axle is basically asking for trouble, and trouble is exactly what they got. Early 911s were tail-happy, twitchy, and honestly kind of terrifying. Lift off the throttle mid-corner and the rear end would swing out like it had somewhere else to be. They called it the Widowmaker. Journalists loved writing about it, lawyers loved suing over it, and somehow drivers loved driving it because, yeah, it was dangerous, but it was also thrilling. It had character, it demanded respect. You couldn't just phone it in with a 911, you had to drive the thing. Now, here's what separates Porsche from everyone else. They didn't give up. They didn't say, you know what, maybe rear engine is a bad idea. Let's do what everyone else does. No. Instead, they looked at this flawed, brilliant machine and said, we're going to make this work, and we're going to make it work better than anything else on the road. And that's exactly what they did. Each generation of the 911 got better with more stability, better brakes, smarter suspension, wider tires, turbochargers, all-wheel drive. They threw engineering at the problem like it owed them money, and slowly, relentlessly, they turned a car that wanted to kill you into a car that wanted to make you a better driver. But here's the key. They never lost the soul. The engine's still in the back. The shape is still unmistakable. The experience is still Porsche. But here's where it gets really interesting and where I finally started to understand what everyone's been going on about. Porsche doesn't chase horsepower wars. They're not over here trying to slap a bigger engine and everything just to win a spec sheet argument on Reddit. No, they chase feel. And I know, that sounds vague and subjective, like something a wine snob would say about a Pinot Noir, but stick with me because this is where Porsche gets legitimately obsessive. We're talking about engineers who fine-tuned the weight of the pedals so your left foot and right foot feel balanced. They're the ones who adjust the resistance of the shifter so it has just the right amount of mechanical feedback. Not too loose, not too stiff, but just right. They're the ones who spend actual time and money making sure the door latch makes a satisfying thunk sound when you close it. There's a story, and I don't know if it's true, but it feels true. It is that Porsche engineers will literally redesign a bolt if it saves them 3 grams. 3 grams! That's less than a sugar packet, but to them, that's the difference between good and perfect. Think about that for a second. They moved the engine to the worst possible place, hung it out back where physics say it shouldn't be, and then spent 60 years perfecting it. Not fixing it, not compromising, perfecting. That's not engineering. That's stubborn art. Because when you sit in a Porsche, you feel it. The steering talks to you. The gear lever clicks into place with this mechanical certainty that just feels right. The analog dials. Yeah, they still use analog dials in a world of touchscreens. They're there because they work, because you can glance at them and know exactly what the car's doing without thinking about it. Every surface, every control, every little detail is there because someone at Porsche asked, does this make the driving experience better? And if the answer was no, or even maybe, they kept working on it. That's the soul everyone's talking about. And it's not some abstract mystical thing, it's thousands of tiny decisions made by people who genuinely care about how a car feels. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great on paper, so I had to find it out for myself as well. I got a chance to drive a 1964 356C and a 2024 992 Carrera back to back. 60 years of evolution, the same DNA, completely different experiences. The 356C is floaty, light. It smells like old leather and optimism with a hint of maybe we should have checked the oil before this. The steering is vague by modern standards. The brakes are, let's call them suggestive. You're not going fast, you really can't, but you're absolutely and completely present. Every input matters. Every corner is a conversation between you and the car. It's slow, but it's soulful in a way that makes you grin like an idiot. Then you get in the 992, and holy hell. It's like going from a handwritten letter to a Shakespearean sonnet delivered by Morgan Freeman. Everything is precise. The steering weight is perfect. The brakes are telepathic. You point it at a corner and it just goes. No drama, no second guessing, just choreographed perfection. Power you can actually use without ending up in a hedge or a lawsuit. But here's what blew my mind. Both of them connect you to the car in ways numbers can't explain. The 356C makes you work for it. It rewards your patience and teaches you to be smooth. The 992 makes you feel like a driving god. It gives you confidence you probably don't deserve and somehow still demands your full attention. And that's the magic. Porsche didn't lose the plot over 60 years. They didn't chase trends or compromise the formula. They just kept asking, how do we make this better without forgetting what made it special in the first place? Now let's talk about the people, because Porsche owners are a special breed. They're equal parts nerdy, obsessive, and surprisingly generous. You go to a Porsche meetup and you'll find grown adults having heated debates about whether the 997.1 or the 997.2 has more soul, not performance, not value, soul, like they're discussing philosophy, not cars. And these people, they know their stuff. Casually call a 997.2 a 997 and you'll be corrected faster than a vegan at a Texas barbecue. They'll hit you with PDK ratios, IMS bearing failures, and the exact production numbers of the GT3 RS 4.0 before you can finish your sentence. And the cars themselves, they last, like really last. You'll find 1980s 911s with 200,000 miles still running daily. Not as garage queens or museum pieces, actually working, driven, everyday cars. Because Porsche people don't just collect these things. They use them, they drive them, they fix them, they obsess over them. It's not just a brand, it's a community built on a shared respect for precision, engineering, and the belief that driving should actually mean something. Now, let me pump the brakes for a second because no brand is perfect, and Porsche, they've got some glaring issues. Let's start with the obvious, the price. A base 911 starts at over $120,000. $120,000 for the base model. And then Porsche hits you with the options list, which reads like a ransom note written by someone who really likes your kidneys. Want your car in an actual color, not just black, white, or 50 shades of gray, and not. That'll be $5,000. Heated seats, $500. The Porsche crest on your headrest, $630. I'm not making this up. They charge you $630 to put their own logo on a car you already paid six figures for. It's like paying extra for the Apple sticker that comes in the iPhone box. Don't even get me started on dealer markups and waitlists. If you want a GT3, cool. Well, get in line behind 400 other people, half of whom are buying it as an investment and will never actually drive the damn thing. Oh, and the dealer might casually mention that if you really want to move up the list, maybe you'd like to buy a Cayenne first, as a gesture of commitment. Then there's the stereotype, the Porsche driver. Sunglasses inside, Bluetooth earpiece, and parking across two spots like geometry is more of a suggestion than a rule. The guy who says, "my Porsche," in every conversation like it's his personality or something. So, what is Porsche's soul? It's not just the speed. Plenty of cars are faster. It's not just the design, though, yeah, a 911 is still unmistakable from half a mile away, and it's definitely not the price because, let's be honest, there are cheaper ways to have a midlife crisis. No. Porsche's soul is the feeling. It's the way the steering wheel talks to your hands, the way the shifter slots into gear with that perfect mechanical click, the way a 60-year-old design philosophy still makes sense on a back road in 2025. It's flawed, it's pricey, it'll nickel and dime you for literally everything, but once you drive one, really drive one, not just sit in traffic posting Instagram stories, you understand. So here's my question. What's your Porsche pick? Are you going classic with a 356, sticking with the legend and grabbing a 911, or are you like me, still trying to figure out how to justify the price to literally anyone who will listen? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk. Because everyone says Porsche makes the best sports cars, and now I get why.